It was supposed to be a day of celebration, a chance for my husband David and me to mark another year of marriage surrounded by our closest friends and family. Our wedding anniversary party was set to be a joyous occasion, and I had put in a lot of effort to make sure everything went smoothly. The event took place at David's parents' house in Austin, Texas. Their home had always been a welcoming place, but today, there was an underlying tension that I couldn't shake. David's parents, Linda and Tom, were gracious hosts, and their home was filled with laughter and cheerful chatter. The sun was setting, casting a warm glow over the gathering as people mingled, enjoyed the delicious spread of food, and celebrated with heartfelt toasts. Amidst the revelry, there was one person who seemed to cast a shadow over the day: David's sister, Lily. Lily had always been a bit of an enigma to me. In her early 30s, she worked at a private firm and often appeared to prefer her own company. While everyone else was engaged in conversation and festivities, Lily seemed to hover on the outskirts, her presence barely noticeable but palpable. Her strained relationship with me was never something explicitly discussed, but I always felt an icy distance from her. I wasn't sure why, but the discomfort between us was undeniable. The evening was progressing smoothly until I had a small mishap. My sandal strap broke just as I was heading to the dessert table. I tried to fix it, but the damage was beyond repair. Not wanting to miss out on the celebration or make a fuss, I decided to borrow a pair of sandals from Lily. I knew she was particular about her things, but the sandals were stored in her room, and I figured it would be a temporary solution. I slipped into the elegant, fancy pair of sandals I found in Lily's collection. They were beautiful, and I felt a little self-conscious wearing them, but they fit perfectly and allowed me to continue enjoying the party. I was unaware that this small decision would ignite a chain of events that would forever alter our family dynamics. Later in the evening, as I was chatting with some friends in the living room, I noticed Lily's eyes on me. There was something about her gaze that made me uneasy, but I dismissed it as my imagination. It wasn't long before she approached me, her expression shifting from calm to visibly angry. "Are those my sandals?" she snapped, her voice cutting through the noise of the party. I looked down at my feet, then back at her. "Yes, they are. My sandal strap broke, and I needed something to wear. I didn't think it would be a big deal." Lily's face flushed with anger. "You didn't think it would be a big deal? Those sandals are expensive and personal. You had no right to go into my room and take them without asking." Her reaction seemed disproportionate to the situation. I tried to explain. "I only borrowed them because I needed them for a short time. I'm sorry if it upset you. I'll make sure to return them in perfect condition." But my words only seemed to fuel her anger. "You think you can just waltz into my space and take what you want? This is exactly why I don't come around often. I can't stand how people think they can just cross my boundaries without a second thought." Her voice was rising, drawing the attention of those nearby. The party, which had been so lively and warm, felt suddenly cold and uncomfortable. The tension between us was palpable. I could feel the eyes of our friends and family on us, adding to my distress. David noticed the commotion and hurried over. "What's going on here?" he asked, concern evident in his voice. Lily's anger was now directed at him as well. "David, she's wearing my sandals without permission. This isn't just a small issue, it's about respect." David tried to mediate. "Sarah didn't mean to disrespect you, Lily. She just needed a quick fix for her broken sandal." But Lily wasn't having it. "That's not the point. It's the principle of it." This is the kind of disrespect I've come to expect. The argument escalated quickly. Lily's frustration boiled over, and her words became harsher. I tried to remain calm and apologize again, but it was clear that Lily was beyond reasoning. The atmosphere became tense, and I could see the disappointment in David's eyes. In a fit of frustration, Lily took a step closer, her anger seeming to reach its peak. "You don't understand how much this bothers me. You think you can just ignore my boundaries and it's all okay?" Before I could respond, Lily's anger took a violent turn. In a moment of unrestrained rage, she pushed me. I lost my balance and everything happened so fast. I was falling from the second-floor balcony. The world spun around me, and I felt a sharp pain as I hit the ground below. I remember the excruciating pain, and then darkness enveloping me. The last thing I saw was David's horrified face before I lost consciousness. When I woke up, I was in a hospital bed, my arm throbbing in agony. I could barely move and felt disoriented. David was there, his face a mix of shock, anger, and concern. The joy of the anniversary celebration felt like a distant memory. All that remained was the harsh reality of what had happened and the beginning of a painful journey ahead. And so began the unraveling of what had once seemed like a perfect family gathering, a day that had started with celebration and ended in violence, setting the stage for a deep and troubling shift in our family dynamics. I woke up to the beeping of hospital machines and the dull ache that seemed to pervade every part of my body. David was beside me, his face pale with worry, and I could see the pain in his eyes as he tried to comfort me. The doctors had stabilized my condition, but my arm was broken and my back and head were sore from the fall. The physical pain was intense, but the emotional impact of what had happened was even more overwhelming. David's parents, Linda and Tom, arrived at the hospital soon after. Their faces were etched with shock and concern. The cheerful celebration they had hosted seemed like a world away. I could tell they were struggling to comprehend how such a simple incident had spiraled into something so violent. They had always been kind to me, but the gravity of the situation was causing a strain in their usual warmth. Dr. Foster, the attending physician, came in to give me an update. "Your arm is broken, but fortunately, there's no significant head or back injury," he said, his tone professional but sympathetic. "You'll need to be in a cast for a few weeks, and we'll monitor your recovery closely." David squeezed my hand. "I'm so sorry, Sarah. I can't believe this happened. Lily, I don't even know what to say." I could see the rage and hurt in David's eyes. His sister's actions had not only caused me physical harm, but had also shattered the family's sense of unity. I tried to reassure him despite the pain. "It's not your fault, David. But this can't be brushed aside." What Lily did was beyond unacceptable. The days that followed were a blur of medical appointments and phone calls. David and I spent hours discussing what had happened and what needed to be done. The more we talked, the clearer it became that the incident was more than just a family argument. It was a symptom of deeper issues, ones that had been simmering beneath the surface for years. Rachel, David's cousin, called to check on me. Her voice was soft but laced with worry. "I'm so sorry, Sarah. I just heard about what happened. There are some family members who think you might have provoked Lily by using her things without asking. They don't quite see it the same way David does." Her words stung. The idea that some of David's family might side with Lily felt like a fresh wound. "I didn't provoke Lily," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I just borrowed her sandals because mine broke. I never intended to disrespect her." Rachel's voice was reassuring. "I know. David's been very clear about what happened. But there's a lot of anger and confusion right now, and it's making things more complicated." Despite Rachel's attempt to calm me, the situation was deteriorating. Lily's behavior had not only caused physical harm but had also created a rift within the family. The idea that some might blame me or think I was at fault made the situation even more painful. David's support was unwavering, but the lack of understanding from some family members was disheartening. David and I had several discussions about what to do next. We knew that confronting Lily was necessary, but we also understood that it wouldn't be easy. The family dynamics were delicate, and the risk of further fracturing our relationships was high. However, David was determined to address the issue, believing that accountability was crucial for healing. One evening, we decided it was time to have a family meeting. David reached out to his parents and Lily, asking them to come over to their house. The tension was palpable as everyone gathered in the living room. David was calm but firm, while Lily seemed defensive from the start. Linda and Tom looked on with a mixture of concern and sadness. David took a deep breath and began. "We need to talk about what happened the other night. Sarah's injury was severe, and it's clear that Lily's reaction went way beyond what was acceptable." Lily crossed her arms, her face set in a defiant expression. "I still think Sarah shouldn't have taken my sandals without asking. It's a matter of respect and boundaries." David's frustration was evident. "Lily, I understand that you're upset about your personal belongings, but what you did was violent and inexcusable. You could have seriously injured Sarah, and that's not something that can be justified." Tom and Linda looked at Lily, their expressions troubled. "We're all trying to understand how things escalated to this point," Tom said. "We know you're upset, but there has to be accountability." The meeting grew heated as Lily continued to defend her actions, insisting that Sarah's disregard for her personal items was a serious breach. Her refusal to acknowledge the severity of her behavior only fueled the anger and disappointment in the room. David's frustration reached a boiling point, and I could see the strain in his eyes as he tried to reason with his sister. Eventually, Lily's defenses crumbled, and she stormed out of the house, unable to handle the confrontation. The room fell into a heavy silence. David looked at me, his eyes filled with a mix of sadness and determination. "I don't know where we go from here," he admitted, "but we have to address this. Lily's behavior has shown that there are deeper issues that need to be dealt with." As Lily left, the family was left in a state of confusion and disarray. The meeting had not resolved anything, but it had made it clear that the rift between us was deep and complex. The impact of the fall was not just physical, it was a catalyst for a reckoning within the family. In the weeks that followed, the fallout continued to unfold. Lily's behavior led to significant changes in her life. Her inability to control her temper cost her job, and she became increasingly isolated from those around her. Meanwhile, David and I focused on my recovery and tried to navigate the fractured family dynamics. Despite the pain and difficulty, our relationship grew stronger. We learned the hard way that respect for personal boundaries and the need for accountability were crucial for healing and rebuilding trust. The incident had revealed the toxic undercurrents that had been simmering beneath the surface, and it was clear that moving forward required confronting these issues head-on. The weeks after the incident were a whirlwind of physical therapy and emotional turmoil. I was gradually adjusting to life with a broken arm, and although the pain was subsiding, the emotional scars were still raw. David and I were trying to focus on recovery, but the strain of the family drama was taking its toll. Lily's absence from the family gatherings was glaringly obvious. She had distanced herself, and the isolation was affecting her. I heard through David and Rachel that Lily had lost her job due to her inability to control her temper and her worsening behavior. The fallout from that night was unraveling her life in ways I couldn't have imagined. David and I had long discussions about how to approach the situation with Lily. We knew that confronting her was necessary, but it was a delicate process. The family dynamics were strained, and our hope was to find a way to address the underlying issues while trying to mend the rift. One evening, David decided to arrange another family meeting. This time, he wanted it to be more structured and focused on resolving the conflict. Linda and Tom were more receptive to the idea, realizing that avoiding the issue would only cause further damage. They hoped that this meeting might offer a chance for healing and understanding. When the day of the meeting arrived, the atmosphere was tense but hopeful. David and I arrived early to prepare. Linda and Tom were already there, sitting nervously in the living room. It was clear that they were emotionally invested in finding a resolution. Lily arrived last, her face a mask of defiance. She was quiet and sullen, clearly feeling the weight of the confrontation. As she took her seat, the room fell into a heavy silence. David started the discussion, his tone serious but measured. "Lily, we need to talk about what happened and how we can move forward. Your actions that night were extreme and unacceptable. We all need to understand where things went wrong and find a way to address these issues." Lily looked down, her fingers fidgeting with the hem of her sweater. "I know what I did was wrong, but you all need to understand that it wasn't just about the sandals. It was about feeling disrespected and having my personal space violated." David nodded, trying to remain calm. "I understand that you felt disrespected, but pushing Sarah off the balcony was an overreaction. You've always had a strained relationship with Sarah, but this incident was about more than just that." Linda and Tom exchanged worried glances, trying to navigate the discussion. Tom spoke up, his voice gentle but firm. "Lily, we're all struggling to make sense of what happened. Your actions have had serious consequences, and it's important for us to address them. We want to understand your perspective, but we also need you to take responsibility. Lily's defensiveness began to crack as the gravity of the situation sank in. She looked at me, her eyes filled with regret. I'm sorry, Sarah. I didn't mean for things to get so out of hand. I just felt like everyone was always crossing my boundaries and not respecting my space. I took a deep breath, trying to stay composed despite the pain. I appreciate your apology, Lily, but it's important to recognize that your actions caused real harm. We need to work on respecting each other's boundaries and addressing conflicts in a healthier way. The conversation continued with a mix of emotions. Lily began to open up about her frustrations and the long-standing issues that had contributed to her outburst. It was clear that she had been holding on to a lot of unresolved anger, and the incident with the sandals was the breaking point. As the meeting progressed, David and I tried to convey the importance of accountability and healing. We expressed our desire to move forward, but it was clear that rebuilding trust would take time and effort from everyone involved. The discussion was emotional and challenging, but it was a crucial step in addressing the issues that had come to a head. Lily's acknowledgement of her actions and the impact they had on the family was a small but significant step toward resolution. The meeting ended with a tentative agreement to work on communication and respect within the family. While it was not a perfect resolution, it was a start. The aftermath of the meeting was bittersweet. Lily's apology was a positive development, but the road to healing was still long and uncertain. David and I continue to focus on my recovery, and we hoped that with time, the family could begin to mend the wounds caused by that fateful night. Despite the challenges, David and I were committed to addressing the underlying issues and working toward a healthier family dynamic. The incident had exposed deep-seated problems, and we were determined to face them head-on. The process of healing was just beginning, and we knew that it would require patience, understanding, and a willingness to confront difficult truths. The weeks turned into months, and life slowly began to find a new rhythm after the upheaval. My arm was healing, and I was gaining more mobility, though the emotional recovery was still ongoing. David and I worked hard to navigate the changes in our family dynamic while trying to rebuild the sense of normalcy we once had. Lily's absence from family gatherings became a recurring theme in conversations. Her job loss and subsequent isolation had compounded her difficulties, making her an even more distant figure. The family was still grappling with the fallout from her actions and trying to come to terms with the new reality. David and I had tried to maintain a sense of normalcy in our lives, focusing on our relationship and my recovery. We were finding strength in each other, and our bond grew deeper through the shared struggle. The support we gave each other became a foundation for our healing process, even as we faced the challenges posed by the family's unresolved issues. One Saturday afternoon, David and I decided it was time to take a step toward reconciling with Lily. Despite the strained interactions, we felt it was important to offer a path forward, even if it was uncertain. David reached out to Lily, inviting her for a coffee at a neutral location. We hoped that a more informal setting might help ease the tension. When Lily arrived at the cafe, she looked weary but open to conversation. We exchanged polite greetings, and David started the conversation. Lily, we wanted to have this meeting to see if we can find a way to move forward. We all acknowledge that what happened was deeply troubling, but we need to find a path to healing. Lily nodded, her expression conflicted. I know I've caused a lot of pain, and I'm truly sorry for that. I've been struggling to come to terms with everything that happened. Losing my job and becoming more isolated has made me realize just how much I've messed up. David and I listened as Lily spoke, her vulnerability evident. We appreciate your honesty, Lily, I said. It's clear that you're facing your own struggles, and while that doesn't excuse what happened, it's important for us to find a way to move forward. The conversation continued with a mix of reflection and reconciliation. Lily admitted that her inability to manage her anger and her sense of being disrespected had led to the drastic actions she took. It was a difficult discussion, but there was a sense of progress as Lily acknowledged her responsibility and expressed a desire to make amends. David and I emphasized the importance of rebuilding trust and improving communication within the family. We also talked about the need for professional help, suggesting that therapy might be beneficial for Lily to address her anger issues and underlying frustrations. Lily agreed that it was a necessary step and seemed open to seeking help. The meeting ended on a cautiously optimistic note. We all agreed to take things one step at a time, focusing on rebuilding our relationships and addressing issues as they arose. The process of healing would be gradual, but the willingness to engage in open dialogue was a positive sign. In the months that followed, there were small but meaningful changes. Lily began attending therapy sessions and made an effort to reconnect with the family. While the road to reconciliation was still long, there were moments of progress and understanding. Family gatherings became more about healing than conflict, and there was a renewed sense of hope for rebuilding our relationships. David and I continued to support each other, and our relationship grew stronger through the challenges. We learned the importance of addressing unresolved issues and respecting personal boundaries. The incident had forced us to confront difficult truths, but it also provided an opportunity for growth and transformation. As time went on, the scars from that fateful night began to fade, and the family started to rebuild trust and connection. The journey was far from over, but the willingness to address problems and work towards resolution marked a significant step forward. We had come to understand that healing required both accountability and compassion. In the end, the events of that night had changed us all, but they had also shown us the value of empathy, communication, and the need to address toxic behavior. The path to healing was not easy, but it was a journey worth taking, and we were committed to moving forward together, step by step.